Hey guys, so I'm gonna do a quick oil change in my 2008 Nissan Titan. It's a pretty simple process, but I thought, hey, why don't I just record it, show you guys in case you ever wondered how to do it. So right now I've got a mat to lay on because I'm old and my bones hurt when I lay on concrete. I have a drain pan. I got the new oil. My truck takes 6.6 quarts according to the manual. So I need a little bit more than this 5 quarts, but I have an extra one so I can top it off, get the level right. And of course I have a oil filter, which I'll be replacing. And I have just some hand tools. I have a 10 mil socket on here that I use to remove the skid pan off the bottom of the truck so I can gain access to where the oil filter is and where the oil pan is. Usually just loosen the back ones up because they actually are not fully enclosed on where it clamps down, so that I can drop the front and then slide it off. So there's a total of 4 bolts. I already loosened up the ones in the front here. I didn't want to mess around with it. These ones in the front, they get rusted in pretty good. Why? Let's get water on them up front here. Usually you can just slide this forward and then it comes around. And then I got all kinds of rocks and stuff in there. You can see that I have the oil filter up here, which I'll be removing. Of course I misspoke when I said that I need to remove the skid pan in order to access the oil pan. That is not the case. I forgot that it's actually right back here. And it is accessible without removing the pan. However, you gotta remove it anyway because you gotta replace the oil filter at the same time. So we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna get our pan under here. Now I got my size 14 wrench socket, and I'm gonna pull this off. I have a rag with me because I make a mess. Of course that comes off nice and easy. Well, it actually did come off fairly easy. It looked like I had a hard time, but that wasn't too bad. I try not to put it on too tight because I don't want to be able to get it off the next time I change my oil. And now I'm going to go ahead and remove this. I keep a rag with me because I tend to make a mess. Okay, maybe I didn't quite get it all the way. There we go. So now I'm going to get oil on my hand because I'm a messy person. It was bad as I thought it would. So now I just need to let that dry out. I normally will put a cardboard box or something underneath this, especially on a windy day, because once it starts just dripping out the wind, it'll actually take the oil and just put it right in the driveway. But I put that cardboard box under when I do the oil filter because that was a little bit more messy. While I'm waiting for this, I am gonna clean off the oil plug with a clean rag just to make sure I don't get any dirt up in there. So one time when I first got the truck, I didn't know what I was doing, and I accidentally drained the front differential oil instead of the oil from the engine. So I was a little surprised. I might have known I was doing like a fool. The oil coming out was like clear or clean, and I'm thinking, wow, that's something cleanest I've ever seen the oil. And then I realized that I just drained the wrong oil into the system. So I had to replace it. So it was a nice opportunity to learn how to do that. And with the front differential, you actually have to use a different kind of filling method. You need a pump that has a hose on it, so you can pump the fluid into the differential from the top. It's not easily accessible from the engine compartment, so you need to do it that way. And so it was a learning opportunity, but now I know. While I'm waiting for the oil to finish draining, I like to look around and see if there's anything that's not looking good, any leaks or anything. And so far I can see that there's a little bit of oil underneath the oil filter there. I think that's just old grimy oil that's built up every time that I change this filter, and so I think that's fine. It's to be expected. I look in behind the wheel to see if it looks like any of the boots are leaking grease or anything, or if any of the ball joints look like they're in rough shape. They don't look amazing, but they are also not leaking, so I'm not too worried about it. Some of these I've replaced recently. It's always a good time to check and make sure that your brake lines aren't leaking and that you don't have any broken springs or anything, so those all look good. If I look at the other side, I'd say the same thing. I don't see any obvious leaking. I recently had, I noticed a leak on my bottom pan of my front differential here. And so after doing some looking around, I realized that the differential itself, where the seal is, was leaking. So, and I had that replaced about 2 years ago. And so I took it to the shop and I said, this thing is still leaking. I took it to a different shop. I was tired of dealing with the other guys. And I said, yep, we can replace that seal. Looks like it needs a new yoke. So he put a new one on. Took him an hour. Reasonably priced. It would have taken me half a day to do what he did in an hour. So I'm not going to complain about that. Another thing that I noticed recently is there's a little bit of a wet spot showing up here, and where that's actually coming from, because I believe it's the power steering pump. I've had that fixed multiple times. It's a very slow leak, so I'm not worried about it. Not with this truck, it's so old, but it is. I don't like leaks. I like to fix them if I can, but I can't always do it. So once the oil gets to the point where it's just dripping every couple seconds, I call that good enough. And so what I do is obviously, like I said before, I clean off the plug, but then I wipe down where the nut goes, because I don't want any debris between the plug and the pan. So I clean that off as good as I can. Put my plug back in, hand tight. And then I clean it off again. Take my wrench, tighten it down. Doesn't have to be super tight. Just snug. Well, more than snug, but a little more snug. But I don't want to make it so tight that the next time I go remove it, I break something. Now I'm going to remove the oil filter. If I did it right, I should be able to remove it without tools, or not. There we go. I learned my lesson with these ones. I removed it. I didn't look very closely before I put the other one on, and the gasket actually got stuck in there. straighten out a little bit. So anyway, the gasket got stuck on the engine and I put the new filter on. And so there was actually 2 gaskets and it didn't make a good seal. And of course I didn't check it. So this was in my wife's car and she drove down the road, and a mile down the road her oil light came on and she drove it back. Say she didn't ruin the engine. Not that she knew what was going on, but I found out that the gasket had actually stuck on there. So number 1, I now usually avoid that brand, and number 2, I always make sure. In fact, I learned that you should just clean off the gasket area anyway with the rag just to keep it clean. If you do that, the chances of you missing a stuck gasket might be very low. But these are things I'm not a trained mechanic. I just try to do things the best I can on my own without making things worse. Now that this is pretty much all clean, I'm trying to wipe it down. I'm going to take my oil filter, which I put a nice clean ring on of oil on the gasket. Make sure you tighten this on straight. If it's not spinning freely like that, then it's probably binding up on the threads and you don't want to do that. You only really need to do a hand tight on these because you're really depending on that gasket to hold it in place, and you don't want it to be difficult to remove in the future. So don't worry too much about making it super tight. Alright, so I got that off. I cleaned out this little channel so it doesn't keep dripping as I move the oil pan out of the way. Doesn't have to be super tight. It's depressing to look at the bottom of this truck and see all the roof. Alright, so sealed everything up on the bottom. Now it's time to move it. Now we open up our oil cap here. I like to smell it for some reason. I don't know why. Sometimes you can smell burnt oil, like really burnt. That's not usually a good thing. Just like clean it off real quick. I use a funnel because I'm a mess. I clean it out with a rag real quick just to make sure that I'm not getting anything nasty inside the engine. Now, like I said before, this takes 6.6 quart. So I have a 5 quart container here, which I'm just going to dump the whole thing in. 30. I have an older engine. I want to try to keep the oil as clean as I can. And if it means that I pay an extra couple $100 over the course of the life of the truck and it lasts a little bit longer, then I'm willing to pay that rather than try to push the limits. I mean, it's an old truck, 2008, 212,000 miles. So I'm okay changing the oil every 5,000 rather than 7,500. Now I just need to get a little bit more oil. So I have my second container, 5W30. I usually will take advantage of the deals that they have online or at the local auto store, where you got a oil filter and 5 quarts of oil. I'll just get 2 sets because I know that I'm gonna go through the oil anyway. And then sometimes I have extra oil filters sitting around, which is no big deal. I think I end up saving some money by just buying 2 5-gallon jugs, and then I have 2 oil filters. My new sticker on and I'm good to go. Alright, so last step is to see. So I got 212,365. Gonna write 217 on it. I'm gonna put it up in a quarter here. So I got my 217. We'll just stick that up there. Now I'll know to change my oil again at 217. This truck is getting pretty old, but it still runs pretty good. I have my tire pressure monitor light come on, but frankly I don't care. So I'll check the tires on my own. So I hope this video was helpful. This was just a quick little how to change your oil in a 2008 Nissan Titan. I know there's a million videos probably that tell you how to change your oil, but this is how I do it. It's quick, it's easy, and it saves a ton of money rather than going to a place that is going to charge you for labor and everything like that. Plus you have a little bit of reassurance that you did it right. You know that you tightened the oil plug, and you know that you put the new oil filter on, which is something you don't always necessarily know if you go to one of those quick lube places. So if you're into having a little bit of reassurance, it might be time to start changing your own oil. All right, thank you for watching.